What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Darion, and this is another edition of the Modern Luxuries podcast, where modern problem faces luxurious living. This is actually the second time I recorded this episode. I actually recorded this, today is Tuesday. I recorded this episode yesterday slash like midnight last night once. And when I went back and looked at it, I realized that my point wasn't adequately being explained. So here I am now recanting, and a lot of people may have seen what I've posted on my social medias the last few days. Sentiments of basically the big FU. And when I say big FU, I mean it's big FU energy. People don't understand what I mean by that, so I feel like this is the best opportunity to explain why I feel this way. In addition, why I feel like this is a problem with society. Starting out, I want to point out the fact that we live in a self-serving and self-righteous society. I believe that it's impossible in today's society to genuinely feel or care for the other person. What do I mean by that? Well, we live in a society that is where everybody is so wrapped up in themselves and they put on a facade that they care about the next person. Genuinely care. Now, you may have a feeling, emotion. I'm not saying that. There is great people in society. But I feel as though everybody is in a better interest looking for themselves, and that's okay. Everybody looks out for themselves, and that is perfectly fine because the way I see it, the first rule of living, first rule of life is self-preservation. Everything that we do is to preserve self. In preserving self, the law of self-preservation is the idea of maintaining safety, being safe, nothing bothering, nothing harming us. But I feel like it goes deeper than that in the sense of, in saving ourselves, Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that we, at the peak of our needs, is self-efficacy. Now, notice that in that, it doesn't say peer efficacy. Yeah, we have the groups right below it, but above it is self. Self is most important to a person when it comes to needs. It takes the peak. Now, once the basic needs of food, safety, security, shelter is taken care of, people focus on self. Self-actualization is how I see it. How people view themselves, how people see themselves. And with that, I believe that that's where people create their own peace. And for this reason, we serve self in everything that we do. And we do it so much that we validate letting people go in today's society in response to any level of uncomfort or unpleasantness to oneself. To give an example of this, one of my closest friends, my best friend, I haven't spoken to her in months. I went to the hospital. I nearly died. She has yet to this moment checked up on me. I had said something that hurt her feelings, that she didn't approve of, she didn't like. She brought it to my attention days later. I apologized, and that was okay. And I'm believing that it's okay. But to her, in her mind, that level of discomfort, this annoyance, led to her believing that she needed to step away because it was unpleasing to her. Now, I'm pretty sure she didn't take into account, though, my feelings, my emotions, how I would feel that one of the people that have the code to my safe, or if anything happens to me, if I had died, I want her to be the first person to know. But she disregarded that because she looked out for herself. So when I say we live in a self-serving society, that's everywhere. That's just one example. I see a bunch of times where people will break up in a relationship. This is the same person that months before they said they loved them. They were in love. They break up. And now love has changed. Things have changed. They're not even the same level of friends anymore. I'm talking about the physical, having sex, what have you. That's okay. Okay, there's two different boundaries. But I mean, as far as just being cordial, being pleasant to each other, the pleasantries aren't even the same. Why? Because that person no longer served the better interest of oneself. So you cast them out. You let them go. We do this with friends. We do this in relationships. We do this all the time. We do it to family. Family is one group that no matter what, you share a bond. But I see families torn apart because X member of family no longer serves to the better interest of the overall family, or X person in family harms another person. Now, it may not be physical, it may be just mental, emotional, or just irritates, upsets, and you cast them out. And you cast them out because of your own better self-interest. And furthermore, I feel like in the spirit of self-righteousness, society pacifies itself with the false duty to display empathy. Hence, why people feel entitled to know what's wrong when the limbic brain truly has no course to care or cause the body to react to any freeze, fight, or flight response. We've all grown up here in the fight or flight, response to danger. And that comes from the limbic brain, the part of the brain that operates subconsciously to protect the body. So in our conscious mind tells us that we care. But in reality, our limbic brain doesn't care. Our brain only processes things that affect us as a society, as a person, as an individual. It only impacts us. So when somebody says, "Oh, I'm looking out for you. I really cared about you," in reality, I believe, and this isn't unproven, I'm still, a scholar to my beliefs, and I challenge anyone I challenge anyone that disputes me to come on this platform and we can discuss it. But I feel like it is truly impossible for us in today's society. It's impossible for somebody to show genuine empathy, genuine care. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's self-serving, self-righteous society. We validate our actions of being self-righteous by caring. Going back to our limbic brain, our caring didn't pose any subconscious thought in our limbic brain that we were in danger. Thus, the brain's function is only to just take in that information of what is wrong, not to react to it, not to freeze, not to fight, not to flight. It just takes in the information, processes it, and spits out something. Whereas a person in a situation, their body, their limbic brain is processing this emotional, mental danger to the body, and they're processing that. It's a feeling. So I really genuinely feel that today's society, it is impossible. We are incapable as a society to genuinely care. And I truly feel as though the reason why we quote unquote care is to stroke our ego of what do we do if we didn't do it? How do we feel if we didn't do something? A person that can have genuine intentions of, feeding the homeless. Let's use that as an example, feeding the homeless. At the end of the day, the person would not do that if in their internal spirit, they didn't feel like they were doing a good deed. If they felt as though feeding the homeless was a terrible deed and made them feel bad, a person would stop doing it. So in the spirit of self-actualization, self-efficacy, they will continue to do it and tell themselves to soothe, self-soothe, and pacify themselves, saying that they're doing a good deed, that is what they do. They would do the good deed. But in reality, if roles were reversed and it made them feel bad, would they continue to do it? And if it made them feel bad, they're doing it out of a service to themselves. The service they're doing for others makes them feel good. If it made them feel bad, they wouldn't do it. No matter what we do, we looking out for ourselves. Everybody is here to serve themselves, no matter how good, how deep we are. And I feel like a problem in society is we are in denial of this. We're in denial of the fact that we serve ourselves. We only look out for ourselves, and we try to live in this spirit of self-righteousness that, oh, we're compassionate, oh, we love, oh, I love unconditionally. When in reality, if it made you feel terrible to do something, you wouldn't do it. So you're serving yourself. You're soothing yourself. You're pacifying yourself, even in good deeds. And then we vilify people that look out for themselves. We live by a group of laws of society that society sets in place. And the biggest law set in place by society is looking out for yourself. But we mask it and we denial of this unwritten rule by saying that we serve others. But in reality, again, we serve ourselves. Nothing we do is genuine. Absolutely nothing. But it's okay. And it's okay in the thought of, if I'm going to serve myself, I want to serve myself by bringing myself joy by doing good unto others. That's the spirit that we need to operate in society. We need to operate in the spirit of, one, removing the idea that we are righteous, because we're not. We're wicked as people. We are selfish. We're selfish. Every person on this planet is selfish. They're self-centered. If they weren't selfish, anytime there was a shooting, every single person there would jump in front of the bullet. But law of self-preservation prevents us from doing that. If we weren't selfish, anytime somebody is sad, our body would react. We would fight. We would get a fight, flight, or freeze reaction if we genuinely cared. So remove the idea of you being just, you being right. Remove the idea and the thought that I'm doing this for other people, because you're not. You're serving yourself. Even if you're doing it for other people, you're still serving yourself. You're looking for something in return. All too often in business and working, people always say, get what you need out of there and then be gone. And I feel like that is essentially what we do as a people. We get what we need out of somebody and then we move on. And that's okay. But it's only okay when we realize that's what we're doing. And everyone that we genuinely love. I know for a fact that I love my mom more than anything on this planet Earth. But I also realize that in reality, she is serving a purpose to me. She is serving as my advisor, my financier. She fed me. And in return, I give her my love, but I'm receiving something. And if everything that she's done for me is taken away, and all the affection that she's shown me that makes me feel good is taken away, what is she? And that's the reality of life. Everybody, every single thing, no matter how genuine, how nice, everybody is serving a purpose to serve you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. Again, going back, we validate the idea of letting people go when they no longer serve the purpose that they are intended. Look at friends. Some people have lifelong friends and it can end in an instant. Why? Because that in whatever action they did, they no longer serve the happy feeling that you felt inside. It dwindled away, so they let it go. But that's okay again. But it's only okay when we realize that's what happens. That's what it is. So moving into 2021, when I say it's big FU energy, I'm not saying that in a mean way. It's in the sense of I understand that every single person that I cross path with is here for a reason. And society tries to teach us, be the proper way of, oh, you don't use anybody. But in reality, being real, you use every single person you come in contact with. Every single person that you come in contact with is being used. I'm not saying used for money or for malice reasons, but you may be using a person for your happiness, your peace, your understand, somebody to lean on, a confidant. That is their role to you. And you're serving yourself by having them in your life because they serve the purpose of what they mean. Doesn't matter how pure it is, they are serving a purpose to you. So stop believing that you're not selfish. Every single person on this planet Earth is selfish. Everyone. And as a society, I think the problem that we have in society is that we live in a denial state. We live in a denial of thinking that we are better, that we are the exception to what I just said. While I posted this on my Instagram, I had multiple people today try to tell me, oh, that's a lot of people do that, but some aren't. The people that are saying that believe they're part of the some that aren't. And then when I give them examples, they can't refute it. Think about some of the examples I've given in this talk thus far. It's true. At the end of the day, it's true. You can't deny it. When you sit back and look at yourself, you realize I am using people. I may not be using them again for malice reasons, but I'm using people to serve myself. Reason why we have friends. The reason why God, I believe, put Eve here for Adam is because man shouldn't be alone. So in essence, Adam was using Eve as a companion to serve himself. He's serving himself in not being alone. He didn't need to be alone. He wasn't supposed to be alone. So he served himself with having her there. And vice versa. Everybody is this person. And everybody tries to make it seem like it's wicked to look out for yourself, when in reality, we all do it. At the end of the day, it's a him or me situation. We're no different. The person that you say is selfish and self-centered, you're no different. You just do it more discreetly. As a member of society, you are society's problem. And nobody ever wants to hear that. They never want to hear that they're the problem. They always want to make, again, going back to the idea of self-righteous, they want to make it seem like they're not the problem. Everybody but me is this. I feel like, in a way, people, like when I'm going back, again, I feel like people are incapable of being genuine because they can't even get past the denial state of them looking out for themselves. How can you be genuine and you don't even realize the actual situation of you being for you and you alone? Yeah, you may care about somebody, but at the end of the day, you do it because it makes you feel some type of way. It makes you feel good. Even indifferent is a feeling. People say, "Oh, I don't feel you. I don't feel indifferent." Okay, well, that's a level. I ask people, what's on the scale of 0 to 100? How do you feel? 0. Okay, that's a level. Level 0. So everybody's being used. But we fight against this. We fight against the idea of us being part of the problem. We fight against the idea of us using people. We don't want to believe that we're using people because we want to believe that we are pure. We want to believe that what we're doing is the right thing. But in reality, we're using people. And it's okay. Again, use people. But I feel like you should use people in a spirit of godliness, at least, in decency. Going back to the example of Adam and Eve, God put Eve here for Adam to use as a companion. But in that, he set parameters of you got to be have decency towards one another. I could be wrong. These are just my opinions. A lot of what I say is based on fact or, books that I'm reading, but it's still, up for debate. And I encourage people to debate me. I encourage people to debate me on this. But the way I see it, everything and every person that's walked this planet Earth is self-serving. And now we need to acknowledge the fact. Once we acknowledge the fact that we're self-serving, now we have to then follow up by saying, okay, if I'm going to serve myself, how can I serve myself and use myself to better the life of somebody else self-serving themselves? But do it in a spirit of genuineness and not live in a state of denial. Because when we live in a state of denial, I believe it is impossible for us to be genuine. I can't genuinely love you if I'm in denial of the fact that I'm using you. How can you genuinely love somebody if you won't even acknowledge the fact that you're using that person? You're using them. You're using them for your happiness. You're using them for your peace, your sanity, your sake. You're using the person that you love. The spirit and that feeling that you have of love, the happiness, the inner warmth, the comfort, and pacifying behavior that you get in giving love to somebody, you enjoy that, giving it to somebody else. But in reality, you're using it for yourself. You love that feeling. So you give that love out. You're using that person. You use them. But how can you can't how do you genuinely love somebody if you don't even acknowledge the fact you're using them? Going back to the example I gave my mother, I realized that I love my mom to death because I also realized that I use my mother. I use my mother as my I confide in my mother. I use my mother in stuff as simple as if I don't know what I'm gonna eat at night, guess who I'm calling? Mama, what you eating? I'm using her as my advisor. I'm using her as my peacemaker. And the only reason I'm able to genuinely love my mother, I'm able to genuinely love my grandmother, is because I acknowledge the fact that I use them. And not to say that you should ever intend to use somebody and spit them out, because that's what society has allowed us to do. Because in our state of denial, we use people, and once they no longer serve a purpose, we spit them out. We spit them aside. We cast them aside. They're no longer in importance. They don't serve a value to us no more, so we cast them aside. And we validate it by just saying, oh, well, sometimes you got to let people go. Opposite. I believe that you don't use people until you get what you need out of them. You use people in order to build yourself up, and then use that energy that you use them to build yourself up. I know I'm getting tongue tied right there. The energy that you use, that you built up by using them, give it to them. And I believe that's why I believe that is a true spirit of true love, true care. But you can't have that unless you realize that you are in fact selfish. You are in fact not only selfish, but you're self-centered. And that's okay. Because man must know thyself. And in knowing thyself, you need to understand that you're a user. You're an opportunist. Everyone is a user. And if you debate me and argue that you're not using people, that means you're living in a state of denial and you try to validate yourself with self-righteousness. That's how I feel. And again, everything that I'm saying is up for debate. And I'm willing to debate anyone that feels this way. But before you come and debate me, and I actually encourage everybody that's watched to this point right here, leave a comment. Leave a comment. If you made it to this point right here, leave a comment and just say, I hear you. You don't even have to agree with me. And if you disagree with me, I want you to put why you disagree with me. Why do you believe that as a society we were not built to look out for self? I encourage it. Again, I don't believe what I'm saying. I did not create MLP Studios as a platform for me to just say what I want and push on other people. No, I actually want to hear what other people have to say. But before you say anything, I want you to really deeply look at yourself and ask yourself, am I or am I not using someone? Am I not using somebody for my peace? Am I using somebody for my happiness? Am I using somebody for my money? If you can tell me genuinely that you don't use anybody for anything, then I'll say you're an anomaly and I actually want to study you. Because at the end of the day, again, we serve ourselves. We serve our feelings. We serve our ego, our emotions. It comes with self. And the only way we can genuinely love other people and care for other people in a society is understanding that that's what we do. And it's human nature and it is okay. Once we realize these things, that's when we be successful as a society. Once we realize and acknowledge these things, that's when we'll find peace in ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, that's when we'll be able to make genuine connections. Not on the basis of using somebody, but on the basis of using somebody and then giving them the equal level of energy and spirit that you took from them to give it back. Am I making sense at this point? Who knows? If I'm not, I encourage whoever, just DM me, leave a comment, say I want to be on the show to debate you, and I'm going to have you on the show no matter Zoom, in person, however. But these are just my thoughts. This has been another edition of Modern Luxuries Podcast, where modern problems faces luxurious living. I'm excited to hear what you guys think. God bless, be safe, and major FU energy 2021.